a legacy that began more than 40 years ago. A tuna business grew into the largest canned food manufacturer in the Philippines. The founder is Taipan Ricardo Poe, known as the Tuna King. Today, that business dynasty continues with the second generation.
Our country's gone through a lot of turmoil in the past. We've had political upheavals, coups d'etats, volcano eruptions, earthquakes, typhoons, you name it. My father these days, when this crisis struck, one of the things he told us is, this too shall pass. We need to show leadership.
Christopher Poe is the CEO of Century Pacific Group, a family empire that has expanded over the years, beyond marine to meat, milk, and coconut-based products. The Harvard-trained CEO and his brothers are fast-tracking expansion despite the coronavirus turmoil.
It's a black swan, certainly a lot of disruption going on, but as they say, in crisis, there's also opportunity. So we should look for the silver lining as well.
Century Pacific sits in a sweet spot, dishing out staples and essential food items at a time of lockdowns and disruptions. But things have been anything but smooth sailing, especially in the early days.
Our products are considered essential items, and so there's definitely stockpiling. People worried about how they're gonna feed their families. So we had to make sure that our factories were running, the products were being delivered to the stores, the shelves were filled, and there was a lot of uncertainty because the early days, there's a lot of question marks about the virus. How can you get it? How do you keep people safe? So we went into crisis management mode. So the first thing is to make sure that our employees are safe and healthy. And the second is to make sure that the shelves are stocked. That means keeping the factories running. Maybe at the low point, some of the factories were running 60 to 70% because we had to social distance within the factories. Some of our raw materials were a little bit delayed. There was some of the challenges included just getting the products from point A to point B, where we passed through different local government units where the interpretation of the rules, especially during the early days, were a bit ad hoc. So we had to put in calls with the Department of Trade to help us sort things out with the task force, which was led by the government. So what was a job became a mission, right? Because we realized the role that we play in the food supply of the community.
That mission extends to helping the needy.
Because the health crisis also is keeping people locked up at home, and the Philippines has a very big proportion of daily paid workers, right? When they don't work, they don't earn. So we actually had to mobilize also to help the community, because we were worried about families going hungry. So it was a very tense and hairy first few days until we kind of got used to it. We've settled into a rhythm.
You were able to ramp up production capacity by putting your newly commissioned tuna plant at General Santos straight into work. What were some of the logistics involved getting the new production going?
Right, so we weren't actually fully ready to get the factory up and running, but given the supply situation, we thought we needed to go with what we had and accelerate. There was some equipment that required technicians from abroad to come in and commission them, so we had to do that remotely via Skype or via Zoom, so we had to kind of MacGyver our way through. So we did thankfully get the factory up and running, and that's why we were able to continuously supply the requirements of the market. The other upside of that is we were able to create 1,600 jobs by starting the factory. We're actually quite pleased that was the case. The timing worked out. We are also advancing the increase in capacity for our meat plant. So a lot of things going on, and certainly the pace has been very frantic.